Hopefully you guys are all shoveled out of the snow and whatnot, and ice, and sleet, and freezing rain. Welcome into the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This show is brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. The Philadelphia Eagles still searching for an offensive coordinator. Mike McDaniels ducks out of another interview. There's a rumor going around out there about Brian Daboll that I was looking for more information on. And yeah, it is just bad internet sleuthing by some. And it has to do with Brian Daboll still being in the mix, quote unquote, for the Eagles offensive coordinator position. Now, you could paint it with a broad brush and go, well, yeah, he's not the Bills head coach yet. He's not the Raiders head coach yet. He's not the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator yet. So if it's not a head coaching job, the first choice, I believe, is still what it has been, which is teaming up again with Robert Saleh and then being his offensive coordinator in Tennessee. That's the deal with Brian Daboll. There's a report out there, and it's credited to Mike Garafolo, but I listened to what Mike Garafolo had to say, and the in the mix quote isn't about Brian Daboll and the Philadelphia Eagles as the offensive coordinator. It's about Brian Daboll being in the mix to be the Buffalo Bills head coach or the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. The report that is out there, and this one has become a great conflagration. This one is all about Brian Daboll going to the Tennessee Titans because the Titans, quote, want him ASAP. And that has been talked about on social media channels as well as television channels throughout the last couple of days. So although when I saw that tweet about Brian Daboll still being, quote, in the mix for the Philadelphia Eagles job, my thought went to, so all the people that were trashing the Eagles saying this is such a terrible place to be, do they then go, wow, I guess this is a great place to be? But unfortunately, not going to be a thing. I'd still like to have them, by the way. That'd be nice. Bobby Slowick did interview. Really, since we last talked on Friday, nothing has changed other than there's around where I'm at, about 9 inches of snow and then ice on top of that. That's fun. So we'll get into the head coaching search, obviously, or excuse me, offensive coordinator search right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to get into the 76ers and the way they lost to the New York Knicks over the weekend. And then today, I wake up to my man Keith Pompey's article at Inquirer.com about the first actual trade buzz surrounding the Philadelphia 76ers. And on the surface, not juicy, not a spicy meatball, not really alluring. But you dig just one little tiny scratch deeper, and it all of a sudden has some meaning to it. And what that meaning is that the 76ers could be trading Andre Drummond. He is reportedly on the table. They are open to trading Andre Drummond. That doesn't do much for me. You're not going to get a lot for Andre Drummond, so that doesn't be like, wow, Andre Drummond, what can you get? No, it doesn't. It means more so they really feel like Joel Embiid is healthy. I've been wildly surprised at how well Joel Embiid has played this year. I've been insanely surprised to see how much Joel Embiid has been available this year. I can't believe the amount of games he's played in this year. I still can't get over the idea that he even played in the season opener. But then you think about the level of play, and it's been wild. However, it's still Joel Embiid. And I have been trained by Joel Embiid and his unfortunate injury history to just get ready for the next injury. Now, you just hope that's not there. And I really, while I am generally speaking a very optimistic person, but however, in this particular category, I don't have a lot of optimism. I have hope, but I've had hope forever. His first half against the Knicks on Saturday was awesome. 28 points. First quarter of the game, he goes down like he goes down the lane, I should say. He goes down the lane like he's 22 years old and never had a foot or knee problem ever, and just slams it home on one of the more well-rounded athletic plays I've seen Joel Embiid make, explosive athletic plays I've seen Joel make. That was incredible. On his way to 28 points in the first half. Then, in the third quarter, Joel Embiid and the 76ers Well, let's just say they were the first ice to fall over the weekend. You know what I'm saying? When it came to just going ice cold in that third quarter there. 13 points by the team, no points by Joel Embiid. And they enter the fourth quarter. I forget what they were down, but I don't know. They were down like 7 or 8 points. I forget what it was. And but they got outscored in that third quarter, 30 to 13 in that third quarter against the Knicks. Then in the fourth quarter, they come alive with about 10 minutes to go. They're down 17 points and battle back. There's some certainly questionable officiating that you could talk about in that game. Sixers haven't had a good go of it as of late when it comes to the goaltend the other night. That wasn't called against the Rockets, or it comes to really the last 2 minutes of this game against the Knicks, really the last minute of this game against the Knicks. There were a number of things that could have gone the Sixers' way, but did not. But I choose to focus on what the Sixers didn't do, and that was they didn't come up with the clutch shots. The only clutch shot they came up with late in that fourth quarter was VJ Edgecombe knocked down a three from the top of the key that made it a 104-102 game. And the Knicks responded with back-to-back threes. OG and Landry Shamet, knocked down threes on back-to-back possessions. And other than Kelly Oubre trying to run down OG's three from the corner, that was the first of the two. These were wide open shots that when you see the shot being released, it's just 4 other 76ers for OG and 5 76ers for Shamet just standing there watching those threes go in. A little defense would be helpful. Tyrese Maxey, I don't know if he thought he was going to get the very late, even by today's standard, very late whistle on the Shamet foul. But just throwing up a three in that situation was ridiculous. Was he fouled? Yes. Was it called? No. And there was enough time that I thought would pass where you don't throw that up, Tyrese. Kelly Oubre missed 2 threes there in the fourth quarter that would have just absolutely blown the roof off the Xfinity Mobile Arena. I thought Joel Embiid's arm got ripped by Jalen Brunson on the final possession of the Sixers after the free throw miss on an attempted bounce pass to I think it was a streaking Tyrese Maxey. And that was the way the game ended. Bottom line for the Sixers is you can't go back to old ways of just being terrible in the third quarter, which is what the Sixers have done for the majority of this season. And you got to hit the clutch shots. Oh, and defense helps too. Play some defense in that fourth quarter. Even though the Sixers won that fourth quarter pretty handily, the third quarter was too much of a hole to dig out of. So we'll get a little bit into that game. Flyers had a phenomenal win over the weekend over the Colorado Avalanche, best team in the NHL. I think they had 5 losses going into that game. Well, the Flyers gave them their 6th loss on the season in a 7-3 blowout in Colorado. Owen Tippett came up with the hat trick, and what a way to do it too, man. We talked about those 2 goals last week by Travis Konecny against the Vegas Golden Knights, where he was able to break up the pass at the blue line, skate it down the other end. Identical goals. 2 goals like that. The only 2 goals in that game, as a matter of fact. Well, Owen Tippett intercepted a pass at the blue line, took it the other way, and I heard on one of the replay, I think it was the Colorado Avalanche announcer even said on the breakaway, Owen Tippett has a breakaway for a hat trick. Yes, he does. And it just buried it in the back of the net. It was awesome to see the Flyers run it up like that on the Colorado Avalanche. I was actually, for the first time in a long time, I was at Stateside Live watching some of that game, and people were into it. The Wings had a game on Friday. So Friday night, that game was going on. They had it up on the big screen there, Xfinity Live. People were enjoying the Flyers. Put a nice little run together there against Colorado Avalanche. And then we'll also get into yesterday's Championship Sunday. I mean, what we learned. What did we learn from yesterday? Well, even the most brilliant minds can have brain farts and dumb moments. Example, Sean Payton going for it on 4th and 1 with his backup quarterback. Not only just going for it on 4th and 1, up 7 already on the Patriots in the second quarter, not only going for it, but asking Jarrett Stidham to throw the football. And credit to Mike Vrabel's defense of the New England Patriots. They sniffed that out something terrible. And they got into the backfield immediately and had Jarrett Stidham just spinning his wheels and ended up turning a ball over on downs when they should have kicked the field goal and taken the points and gone up 10-0 on the Patriots. There were a couple of things. There was a bad drop there by the Broncos, obviously missed field goal, that coaching moment there. There were things that happened in that game that you saw go on that go, yeah, this isn't, you're not going to win with your backup quarterback with these kinds of plays. With these kinds of plays, like these kinds of plays can't happen when your backup quarterback is playing because everybody's got to be their absolute best. It's almost like you got to look at all the mistakes you can make in a football game and say, all right, let's say you make 10 mistakes. This is just an example. All right, let's take these 10 mistakes, and all of them belong to the quarterback. He's the guy that can make the mistakes, nobody else. Everybody else has got to be perfect if we're going to win this football game. And in a 10-7 final in that playoff game, that conference championship game, too many other people made mistakes, the coach included. It was pretty wild, though, to watch within the first 5 minutes of the game, the Denver Broncos go up 7-0 on the Pats, just like that. And shout out to Milton Williams. Wow. Man signs. How great is this for Milton Williams? Think about the last year of Milton Williams' life, okay? This guy plays a phenomenal season last year for the Eagles. Wins a Super Bowl. Okay. Then he goes into free agency. Carolina Panthers are hot to trot, man. They want Milton Williams on their defensive line. The New England Patriots are like, hey, we want Milton Williams on our defensive line. A bit of a bidding war. Drives the price up regardless for Milton Williams. He signs a mega huge Kajunga deal to go to the Patriots back in the Super Bowl. Okay. That's one thing that we learned. Another thing that we learned is Sam Darnold is for real. He's a real quarterback who wasn't just made by being able to throw to Justin Jefferson a year ago. All right, this is something that other people knew. Other people, a little late to it. I'll admit, a little late to it. I got to shout out my man. Because I was having this conversation in the summer with my cousin-in-law, John, who's from out that way. All right, he's an Oregon guy, but a Seattle Seahawks fan. And he was like, I don't know, man. I just really like the Seahawks this year. I'm like, okay, what do you like? And he's just like, well, I just really like this McDonald guy. And, he comes from the Ravens organization. And, just tell me about, what he likes about Mike McDonald. And then he was telling me about, believe it or not, Sam Darnold. I'm like, I'm not sold on Darnold. I mean, it was one great year, a bunch of other bad years. And I got to say, my man John, congrats. Congrats to the Seahawks people. The Eagles would have been destroyed had they made it that far to face that team. I have zero doubt in my mind about that. I still was thinking yesterday, it was still like, I can't believe they rested their starters. I can't believe it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference. But still, you always want to put your best foot forward. No? Yes. Was it most likely delaying the inevitable? Yeah. But, you still put your best foot forward. And they did not do that. It was negligent. It was absolutely negligent. It was malpractice is what it was. It was terrible. But anyway, the biggest thing, though, that I learned from Championship Sunday, I'll tell you right now. Biggest thing I learned from Championship Sunday is that coaching matters. And, I mean, this is something that I think most people knew. But to the degree, I don't think people know. And the reason I know that is because, well, what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks now, which is, okay, Kevin Patullo's gone. So now everything is Jalen Hurts' fault. And that's like a shift in narrative that I'm like, did we just, is this just the next thing up for people? Like the Eagles in 2017, next man up. All right. So is it like next thing to bitch about up? I feel like that's where we're at. And you look at a guy like Sam Darnold. Todd Bowles was the head coach, and their offensive coordinator, I think, is even out of the league. Todd Bowles is offensive coordinator with the Jets when they drafted Sam Darnold. Gone. Todd Bowles, obviously defensive-minded head coach. He's in Tampa now, as we know. But then Adam Gase takes over of the New York Jets. Womp, womp. Okay. Then Sam Darnold goes with Matt Rule. Hey, love my man out of Temple, right? But things did not go well there in Carolina for anything. They had Joe Brady as their OC for a minute, and then that's still nothing. There was one more stop. Then he goes to Minnesota. Has a great year last year. Then he goes to Seattle, and they seem to have figured it out rather well. Coaching matters. On the opposite side of things, you have a backup quarterback in there in Denver, and Sean Payton, a brilliant offensive mind, phenomenal job with Bo Nix this year. They have that 4th and 1 from the 14, go for it situation. And the play call to roll Stidham out. No thanks. No thanks. Other side of it, back to Sam Darnold. Did you see the way they played in the fourth quarter, late in that fourth quarter, in their final possession? First off, the defense was amazing in that stand that they had against Matthew Stafford. Wow, Sam Bradford. How'd that get in there? Matthew Stafford throwing in the back of the end zone there. Might have been offensive pass interference, but either way, play was broken up. Great job by Seattle's defense. They start marching down the field, throwing the football, being aggressive, and getting first downs. You cannot call the Seattle Seahawks timid or conservative. And it made me think again, wow, how much coaching really does matter. Because had that been Nick Sirianni, had that been Kevin Patullo, they would have been just running the football and probably not having success. That's what it would have been. But they're throwing the football. They're getting first downs that way. They're rolling the dice there just to make sure they can keep possession and keep flipping it over for first downs and all that. And man, they were zipping along there for a minute. Eventually had to punt, but still put the ball pretty much at midfield before they punted and were able to bury Matthew Stafford and company deep into the red zone, or deep into their own territory, rather. And then, of course, Matthew Stafford starts throwing some balls down the field, and they look like they're going to have a bit of a chance to at least set up a Hail Mary. And unfortunately, Puka Nacua was brought down in bounds before he went out, so the clock didn't stop, and then that was that. But great coaching. The Eagles, you can't tell me that Jalen Hurts was the biggest problem the Eagles had last year. And you can't tell me that Jalen Hurts is now some terrible quarterback. When you look at everything that went wrong on the Eagles last year, this past season, from terrible play calling, terrible play design, to a banged-up offensive line, I'm supposed to look. If those two things are bad, it's kind of hard to look at the quarterback and be like, it's all his fault. That makes zero sense. And you can't watch this past weekend of football and see how important coaching is and go, oh, see, this is why Jalen Hurts sucks. Like that's, and I know some people will do that. Some people will still try to bang that drum. And, you know, it's funny. I was this weekend, of course, yesterday, took a break from the shoveling and all that stuff. Lit up a cigar, lit a fire outside. After the first round I did, I take care of other people's sidewalks too. I got some older people that I live around, right? They live alone. I like to help them out a little bit, right? So I take the first loop, you know, and sitting down, light a fire, light a cigar, a little whiskey. Neighbor was out doing his driveway. He comes over. I pour him a glass of whiskey. We're talking. And he's like, you know what? I can't stand. And he's a really good dude. You know what I can't stand is the hot takes around Jalen Hurts. And I was like, tell me more. Go ahead. What don't you like? That kind of thing. He's like, how is it that a quarterback can have a bad game and all of a sudden he's just the worst? And I go, well, here's what I'll say. It's one thing to critique a quarterback, but still acknowledge that he's the guy. It's one thing to critique him and then still realize, yeah, he had a bad game or he had a bad throw. He made a bad decision. It's another thing to just say, well, because of that, he's now the Eagles need a quarterback. No, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, just isolating Jalen Hurts here and forgetting about the other blame that goes around. Jalen Hurts had a bad year. Jalen Hurts is still the guy. Both those things are absolutely true. And yesterday, I thought just prove that even more because of how much coaching matters. Sam Darnold gets coaches that know what the hell they're doing, and he seems to do pretty well. He gets in a different system, seems to know what he's doing. That is something that just, like, of all the quarterbacks you could talk about that have failed miserably in their careers, what if they would have gotten that right system? Now, there's guys that have been journeyman guys that did not have success, guys that had to bounce around, and they ended up being career backups. But you find that quarterback to throw in the right current, and you could watch him go. And that's what's happened with Sam Darnold. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him. Because anybody else that might be kicked around or in a bad spot when they get drafted, maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And right now, that light is called the Super Bowl, and Sam Darnold is going there. And how about this? The opportunity to win the Super Bowl in a division rival's stadium. That's got to be fun. And they have the opportunity to do it. A division rival they beat up on pretty well this year. So those are some things that I learned from this past weekend from Championship Sunday. That was a good time. That was a real good time. As far as the offensive coordinator position goes for your Philadelphia Eagles, that is still very much open. Mike McDaniel, see if I got this right here. Mike McDaniel said thanks, but no thanks to the Browns, as we knew. Mike McDaniel said thanks, but no thanks to the Bills. Hey, how about that? I'm sorry. Thanks, but no thanks to the Cleveland Browns. I said that. Thanks, but no thanks to the Bills. And it turns out I think this guy just really hates snow. So it looks like he is holding out hope for the Oakland Raiders job. And if not, he is going to be the offensive coordinator of the LA Chargers. Brian Daboll interviewed for the Oakland Raiders job. Brian Daboll interviewed for the Buffalo Bills job. Doesn't get either of those two gigs. He's going to be the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. Nice to have a fallback. Now, there's another thing here. It also helps you drive up the price for anything. Like if the Titans really want you, maybe they come up a little bit higher to get closer to head coaching money. Not head coaching money, but closer to head coaching money. And you might get $1 million more, $2 million more, maybe. Want to party? Let's party. Or the outlier, maybe a snowball's chance. Pun intended. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles somehow get involved in that. Maybe if Buffalo goes to Phillip Rivers, who is talking about a guy who's had an insane last 3 months coaching high school football. All of a sudden, you're the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts again, and now you're interviewing for the Buffalo Bills job. What? Okay, so let's just live in this world for a second. The Bills hire Phillip Rivers. The Raiders hire Mike McDaniel, and then the Philadelphia Eagles could maybe get into a bidding war with Tennessee Titans for Brian Daboll. That is not reported. That's not out there, but just maybe. Doubted, but maybe. It seems Daboll and Mike McDaniel have their fail-safe pretty secure. And that is for McDaniel to go to the Chargers and Daboll to go to the Titans. Now, Bobby Slowick interviewed with the Philadelphia Eagles on Friday. If you're into it, okay. I'm still liking the idea of Jim Bob Cooter being here, especially with the fact that he was able to help out when it came to Daniel Jones actually looking like a professional quarterback. Amazing. Imagine that. Jonathan Taylor, obviously having a pretty solid running back out there as well. That kind of helped things. But he's the guy that helped put that together along with Shane Steichen. I'd love to get a little bit of that here in Philadelphia. Matt Nagy is a guy that a lot of people have just poo-pooed, but this is a guy with one hell of a resume. Also head coaching experience, knows how to be a leader in a room. Yeah, I'll take that. Oh, and it kind of helps that you could be like, hey, no, well, Patrick Mahomes was able to do this. Patrick Mahomes was able to do that. Why don't we get that concept in here? I was thinking about it. I don't remember. What was it that got me going down this road? But I was thinking about Andy Reid's time here in Philadelphia and then watching him go to Kansas City and just seeing the difference in offenses from here to there. And Nagy's got a part of that, certainly. And I know Nagy was here as well, but not in really a position of power. But Eric Bieniemy certainly helped in that. Mike Kafka had a little piece of that. Doug Peterson had a little piece of that. I mean, these are all guys that obviously had worked under Andy Reid before, but these are all guys that also maybe were able to be a voice in the room that would be heard and open things up in Andy Reid's offense a little bit, to the point where maybe you'd be a little bit creative. Just a little bit. I remember looking at Andy Reid, and I'm trying to think of it, watching them run the pistol. Watching them use these shovel passes, like basically utilizing the talent that they had, especially with Travis Kelce, which is pretty damn good. Like, it's a very different. People just very lazily can say, well, look at what they did with it's Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, that's the biggest part of it. But in terms of overall schemes, concepts, play design, that's different than what we saw here in Philadelphia. You bring that kind of newer voice that might be able to help and be that voice in the room, lend that little suggestion that might make the offense that much better. Little changes here and there. Overall, that's going to make a huge difference in what the Philadelphia Eagles could do next season. And again, it all does trace back to just the idea of just watching this past weekend and really watching the playoffs in general, just thinking about how much coaching matters. And to go back to Jalen Hurts and where this ties in, you can't tell me that coaching doesn't matter or that it was all on Jalen this past season, or a vast majority of it was on Jalen this past season. And think about what he was throwing into, what he was trying to read, the concepts he was going into, matching up against that, different defenses. Really look forward to whoever it is going to bring in the fresh ideas. Really look forward to that. The name that we actually did talk about a bit last weekend was Declan Doyle from the Bears. You better be a whiz kid at 30 to take on a team that is 1 year removed from a Super Bowl championship, unaware really of who you're going to have on this offense next year, aside from Hurts, Barkley, and Smitty, and be able to make this start cooking again. And I hope he is that guy. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Promo code FARZI, Game Time app. Let me tell you right now about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check today. Sean Kilrain, hello. CM, what's going on? Sean Gillespie, what's going on? CM, hello. If the Rams lose... Wait, what? Oh, if they lose Shieldhouse today? How do you say that? Interesting name. I like the idea of Shieldhouse being here for the same idea. For the same reason I like the idea of Declan Doyle. You're talking about offenses from this year and for a while with Sean McVay, offenses that the rest of the league has admired for creativity, play design. My only question is, you're talking about another first-year play caller. You're also talking about whether or not they can have the rhythm and the feel that you need as a play caller to be successful. And, that's something that not a lot of people think about. And I didn't even think about it all that much until Nick Foles talked about it a month or two ago when he was questioning Kevin Patullo's ability as a play caller. Like, you have to have that feel. You have to have that instinct. Shieldhouse have it or not? That's still undetermined. Same thing with Declan Doyle. And you know what? I don't even know how old Shieldhouse is. 35 years old. So, I mean, not a child by any means. And he's been with the Rams organization for the last 2 seasons. One as an offensive assistant and passing game specialist, and then this past year as a passing game coordinator. So that's where he's at right there. Kevin, good morning. Hello. Should have took a vacation day, says Sean Kilrain. Philadelphia roads like Armingo Ave suck for sure. Getting stuck was my highlight on Cheltenham Ave. Oh, that's terrible. Sorry to hear that, man. Be careful, everybody on the road. Couldn't believe they didn't take the 3 points. Still believe Denver would have lost. So do I. I still believe they would have lost. But, I mean, when it's a 10-7 game and you had 10 points there, especially before the snow came in, that would have been a bit of a difference. Chico, far as we're going, what's your take on the games last night? Milton Williams, yep, absolutely. I got into that. Cousin, what's going on, cousin? Devontae Adams, 0-5 in conference championship. I don't think it was the 4th down play when the Rams were last in the red zone. I think it was the second to last play they had in the red zone there. I didn't see who the corner was, but Devontae Adams ran an I forget the name of the route. An out and up, I guess. And that corner, he was not fooled. He either watched his film or he guessed spectacularly right, because he cut when Devontae Adams cut out before he went up into the end zone. The corner just went to the spot, like exactly where Adams was going to be. And you could see Stafford just like look over there and be like, yeah, no. And then there was no play to be made. It was a phenomenal move by the corner in that spot there, just to not go with the receiver, but just know where the receiver was going to go. Beautiful. Look at Sam Darnold away from Adam Gase and the Jets, right? Vikings are stupid. Mark takes meds, allergy medicine. This is true. A.W. Conti, that reminds me of something. Not me on meds by any means, just your name there. It's a positive thing. Other former Eagles supporting the Super Bowl, Josh Jobe, Brady Russell, Christian Ellis, Matt Collins. Matt Collins had a big catch yesterday for the Pats. Mike Vrabel will have a chance to become the first man in NFL history to win a Super Bowl as both a player and a coach with the same organization. Yeah, I didn't see that enough yesterday. In all honesty, that's the thing that's mind-blowing. The thing people kept focusing on was the so many wins last year, and now they're in the Super Bowl. Like, that was pretty wild. That is wild, but the thing that's pretty wild to me is that you coached and won, or sorry, you played and won, and now you're coaching and could win. Does Mike Vrabel put himself in the game to catch another Super Bowl touchdown pass? Asking for a friend. Eagles' arrogance is their biggest enemy. Sean, I couldn't agree more, Sean Gillespie. Niners are going to whine again if the Seahawks win, and won't that be fun? CM Punk, hello. Farzi, who got in the Super Bowl? I have the Seahawks. Right now, at this moment, I have the Seahawks. They just look like a team. Look, you roll through the regular season the way they did, and then you roll in the playoffs. Like, I think you're – look, you can say similar things about the Patriots. Seahawks defense has just been so damn good. Sam Darnold has been on point. Drake May's been great too. I think it's going to be the Seahawks winning it. Patullo didn't feel anything much less than play calling, right? Washington, thank you. Sean Kilmer, I think you're right. Washington on Adams. Gotta love Sam Darnold's grandfather is a former Marlboro man named Dick Hammer. Did not know that. Marlboro man. That's pretty wild. Do I have time for this? I do have time. So I went to this is just a funny thing. I went to my cousin's wedding some time ago, and I never met her husband before, right? And her now husband. And that day, as a matter of fact, her husband. And I was like, oh, let me see what this dude's about. So I did a little internet stalking. This is my little cousin here we're talking about, okay? So I do a little internet stalking. He said, and I know my cousin Allie. Tommy, your sister, my cousin who's in the chat here. She's an actress, right? She's all into that and stuff, and her husband is an actor. So I look him up, and I'm like, all right, of course, me being the skeptical relative, what's this guy do? What's this guy's deal? What's this guy's deal? So it turns out he was on the History Channel. Yeah, in one of them like dramatic, not even reenactments. It doesn't even do it justice. They're like whatever it was. They're like doing the ad man of America or whatever it is, and he plays the guy that invented the Marlboro Man. And they show him acting, and he's doing the thing, and he goes, I present to you the Marlboro Man. I remember that. I was like, oh, okay. It's now my cousin-in-law. Go figure. But anyway, that's what I think of when I think of the Marlboro Man. That's where my idiot brain goes. I'm sorry. But yeah. How about that? Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Anyway, I'll be back with you guys doing a quick 2-a-day here. Keith Pompey and I are coming up with Locked On 76ers on a Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Again, there's news there to be heard. Keith has league sources talking about the possibility of the Sixers trading Andre Drummond. What? Yes. What a vote of confidence for Joel Embiid. We'll break that down and more a little bit later on. Well, in about 4 minutes, as a matter of fact. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. My name is Mark Farzetta. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then.